What's going on, everybody? This is AC, and today we are in tune with a legend, y'all, man. Mixtape DJ legend. We got him on Drink Champs, man. And today we got DJ EFN. What's going on, man?
What's good, man? What's good, man? Thanks for having me.
Yeah, man. Thank you for, what I'm saying, again, giving me your time today and to join this podcast. It's huge for us. So we're gonna start. We're gonna start in the beginning of all this because we all know you from Drink Champs,
Right.
and so where did it start with hip hop? Because we know you're a DJ, a legendary Miami mixtape DJ.
Thank you.
So how did all that start with the DJing? Like, what's your introduction to hip hop, basically? Because we know you come from Cuban descent and you came over from Cali now, correct?
Yeah. I was born in Los Angeles. Moved over to Miami when I was pretty young, and was raised out here in Miami.
Hmm.
I mean, I just fell in love with music, all kinds of music, early on,
Hmm.
in LA and stuff, and then as I started growing older and getting my own musical taste,
Hmm.
and hip hop is like starting to infiltrate more and more on the radio, um, and just around me and my friends.
Hmm.
It was just something that at first it was just the music of the time, like for us, you know what I'm saying? Like,
Right.
we all little kids, we all b-boys, we graffiti artists,
Yeah.
we live in the culture without knowing we live in the culture. And
Mm.
so at a point though, as I'm getting older and I'm getting more into, at the time it's just rap music to me. As I'm getting more and more into rap music, then NWA hits the scene and Public Enemy hits the scene, and those two groups changed everything for me in terms of like creating that passion for hip hop, because at that point rap music hadn't given me that emotion that those two groups conveyed in their music, like
Mm.
anger and social justice and just all this emotion that I didn't know that existed, that could come out of rap music at the time.
Right.
And so those two groups were pivotal for me to get passionate about hip hop, and then just in general starting to understand the culture as a culture, and already realizing that I was already living the culture.
Mm.
It just even made me more and more interested and passionate about it. And then you fast forward a little bit longer, I'm in junior high now, and then I'm getting into high school, and I'm gravitating towards, I couldn't rap. Everybody wanted to be a rapper, you
Right.
get into hip hop, you try to rap. So I wasn't
Right.
I wasn't a rapper,
Hmm.
and I wasn't even a good graffiti artist. I wasn't a good b-boy. So I just did all the elements just to do them because it was the thing to do.
Right.
And so I started gravitating towards a DJ when I started seeing music videos, or if I went to like the skating ring and DJs were playing, and if I got to see a concert and I saw the DJs, I was just like, man, that the dude behind the scenes that's backing up the artist, that's the dude right there, or the dude
Right.
that's playing at the skating ring that's controlling the mood of the whole skating ring. I'm like, that's the dude right there. And so
Hmm.
that's where I started to get passionate about, like, okay, I want to be that. And then it
Right.
just became a timetable to like, okay, I couldn't afford turntables, but eventually, got to the point where I was able to afford turntables and start DJing.
So do you feel like NWA was an early influence because you were from that side of the country? Were you on that side from Cali? Was that like a thing where you were already listening to music from over there? Or was it just the impact globally that NWA had on?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it was because I'm from over there, but I think that because I'm from LA, there is definitely, I have a different taste of music than
Mm.
like maybe some of the friends that I had at the time, or the people around me, or even people in Miami. I just had a little bit more of an eclectic, taste for hip hop, and maybe it was because I'm from LA, or maybe I was seeking it because I knew I was from LA, so I was looking
Mm-hmm.
more towards the West for some stuff. But and I would go to LA every year. My family's out there still to this day. So
Oh,
my
okay.
grandparents I would visit. My family lived in Inglewood. I bought my first NWA and Ice Cube tapes, over there in Inglewood and South Central
Wow.
in the mall out there, and I would visit my family. And so, I would come back with those things, just like I had a lot of friends that were from New York and Miami,
Mm-hmm.
and they would go to New York and come back. I used to say you recharged your battery in New York. They come back,
Right.
yo B, what's up B? And I'm like, all right, and I'll go to LA and I come back recharged. So but it was cool because we all came together as just hip hop kids and were
Mm.
like kind of like trading cards. Like, yo, I got this tape in LA. Oh, I got this tape in New York, and they
Mm.
had the new Master Ace, and I had the new Ice Cube, and it was kind of cool to bring that all together.
And now kids today don't even understand that. Even me, that's a little because I'm 93. So
Right.
I was more into CDs, but even tapes back then, like people don't know that because now you just go on your phone and you just look at the streaming. Like you had
Right.
to literally go places and grab it and be able to exchange it.
Well,
And
you didn't know music came out. Like the way that we found out about new artists or new albums is you just went to the store.
wow.
We would go directly to the rap section of the store,
Mm-hmm.
and whatever was brand new, you know, if you could cop it, you copped it. I mean, I used to jack a lot of tapes. I didn't have a lot of money, so
Uh-huh.
me and my boys would go in there and rip off the censors and put, you know, some
Yep.
in our pocket. But that's the way we got our music, man. Yeah, whatever was brand new. And what was dope about that is that you took anything that was new because there wasn't that many releases at the time, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So you would take whatever was new on the rap section, take it, listen to it up and down, read all the you know the production credits, and then decided this shit was dope or was whack.
Right.
You know, you
Wow.
didn't go off of social media or all these people telling you or this that. You literally took it, listened to it. All right, this is whack. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Mm-hmm.
you know, this shit is dope, and then that's how
Right.
you know you went through shit.
And that's really a thing. Like a lot of people like music because it's pushed in front of them and it's
Right.
just what they see, what other people like. So it's really hard to distinguish what's good or not nowadays. But you mentioned being at the skating rink and you seen the DJs back then. Was it the DJs were more of the forefront of hip hop back then, correct?
I mean, yes and no. Like, you know, you might be kind of thinking because I know at a point everything starts to become old school.
Yeah.
So you know, but for me, you know, old school for me is like
Yeah,
you
your
know
era.
the guys in the that were already adults in the 80s and already you know coming from the late 70s and they were doing the park jams and the DJ was everything then
Hmm.
because they were before the MC. The MC
Right.
was the one just bigging up the DJ, and then eventually the MC is like, hold up, I got the mic and I'm in front of the stage. I'm gonna
Right.
start to take control. So I mean, yes and no, but what it was is that if you went to a party, if you went to a club, you know, when I was young, I just went to the skating ring, or I
Hmm.
would go to a house party,
Hmm.
and the DJ was the man because you know we wasn't really having MCs at the time, you know, spitting at the you know at those things. So
Right.
just seeing the DJ, you know, with the sound system, and then that was the other thing too, like especially big in Miami was the sound system. You know, a lot of the
Yo.
Caribbean reggae dancehall DJs, the bass DJs, it was all about having the big sound systems, and that was another way to battle a DJ by how big your sound system was.
Right.
And just seeing that was like, yeah, that they were crucial and key, and they were like the ones that would stand out, and the DJ was everything.
Hmm. So then now you become a DJ, and what I admire about you the most is how you branded your team. You branded Crazy, Who's Crazy, Crazy Hood throughout your whole career, and that's just something I want to talk about. How did you have such a successful team? How did you guys stick together through? Because a lot of teams don't make it, and
Right.
your team, you guys are strong. You killed the Miami scene. You killed even the East Coast scene down south in general. Like, how do what helped you guys keep that bond and keep so strong?
Man, I mean, first of all, most of my crew, if not all of them, I mean, there's a couple younger guys. They're all from my friends from high school. So we were
Mm,
just hip hop kids in high school as just fans of the culture and living the culture. So we came out of that and then it was my bright idea to say, hey, let's try to do this more seriously and put on for the city.
right.
A lot of my crew, you know, at that time we were a huge crew, like 20 of us.
Hmm.
Um, a lot of cats were like, nah, I don't see it. I don't see it from Miami. I don't see it
Wow.
from our area of Miami. Like I just don't see it. So boom, they kind of went their way. And then the few diehard hip hop heads are like, I'm with it. I'll roll with it. Let's see where it
Right.
goes. So that's the type of friendship. We're a brotherhood.
Mm,
And what happened is what we realized at a point, and I hope I can speak for everybody, is that this shit wasn't gonna pay the bills for everybody.
right.
You know, like like reality hit,
Hmm.
and that's what happens to a lot of the crews that we kind of came up with. These crews, you know, they had like a pivotal moment where they thought they were gonna blow up, and then you know they put out a record, it got a little buzz, but then like the money that was coming after that wasn't there and it wasn't consistent. So these crews kind of fell apart. You know, they had infighting. My
Hmm.
crew was different. They, you know, a lot of guys were like, you know what, this shit ain't gonna pay the bills for everybody. So some guys went back to school, went to college, and got degrees. Other
Mm.
guys opened up businesses and restaurants. And what happened is instead of leaving the crew to do that stuff, they stayed in as a supportive, you know, act. And they were like all
Oh,
supporting and they were still a part, and they're still to this day a part of the team.
right.
So so what happens is it made room for the guys who were like, nah, this is what I want to do for my life. You know, they could stick with it, and then the money that could come in could support the few. And
Right.
then the rest of the guys were like, all right, I'm gonna go make my money out there, but I'm
Right.
still a part of the team. And that's what kept us together the whole time.
Wow. So did that actually help you out with them going to college, like entering college radio through them out there? I know you did your own thing with college radio, but was it more of
Yeah.
a network with them?
No. The college radio thing was funny. It was more like I deboed my way into college radio. There was a big hip hop show in Miami at a UM called the Hip Hop Shop, and it was at University of Miami. We used to listen to it growing up, and then we used to go over there to promote because we had a independent record label. We had a group. We would go there, promote it. All the locals did, and eventually I got cool with the people that ran the station. Well, that show.
Right.
And I was like, yo, I'll bring they didn't have a mix show. It was just a person playing records. And I was like, yo, I'll bring my turntables. Let me do a mix on here, during the show. And they were like, all right, cool. And then I would just bring my turns and I just deboed my way. And I didn't go to UM, or none of that. And then I did a lot of pirate radio at the same time around that time. And, and so that's how I got into the college radio thing.
So basically you went in there and you're like, all right, you guys suck. Like I can bring the whole thing in here and just make it a bigger thing. And then
not that they suck. They just didn't have that. I'm like, this is, like the mix show was everything, especially at that time.
Right.
Like the mix live on the air. So I was like, I was like, yo, I'm gonna do the hard part. I'm gonna bring my turntables over here. I'll bring my selection, and then and then a segment of the show will be a live mix, by DJ EFN, and to them it was worth it. So it worked for everybody.
So then for the people out there that are struggling to get started off and all that, so is this a gig that you got yourself into and it was just something you wanted to do, and were you compensated for this, or was this a start of were you growing in this area and just like, I'm gonna just put the time in?
In which area exactly you refer
in the
to?
College radio.
Oh, I didn't make a dime off of that. A lot of the stuff that we've done over the years, that I've done, that we as a crew have done, has been strictly on like, how do we promote our brand? The last thing I tried to do is do something because of the money of it. And that's what I think also set us apart. Like, I was always looking for the opportunity of how do we make our brand look good out there? Let's spread, let's network. Because I realized that was worth something down the line.
Yeah.
And so a lot of this, I would say like 80 to 90% of the stuff that we were doing for at least a decade, we didn't make a dime off of. We were putting money into it.
I love that. And that's so good for someone like you to say that, because I try to preach this stuff, but people like, you know what I'm saying? But someone at your stature saying that, like, it just validates everything that I talk about. So I appreciate you saying that. But now you were growing up in a DJ in Miami. There's a bunch of other DJs. So you're growing up at the same time kind of as DJ Khaled.
Yeah, Khaled, I remember when Khaled came to Miami from Orlando. Yeah.
Okay, and then how was that? Was it more of like a competition thing when he came, or was it like you guys had your own lanes, it was just going straight up?
I mean, it's hip hop, so all the DJs, the MCs, it was always competitive. It was, there was little rivalries. There was the thing about what I decided to do is because there was dudes that did the club shit, and then there was dudes that did, there wasn't a lot of commercial radio, so pirate radio and college radio was the big thing. So there was the guys that did the big pirate radio shows. So what I said, I was like, all right, ain't nobody really doing the mixtape stuff. And then there was guys that there were turntablism winning. We have one of the biggest world-class DJs, DJ Craze, right from my hood, who's won all the biggest competitions in the world. So I took the route of mixtapes to kind of be in that lane that nobody was really in, and kind of took it. But still, everybody was kind of like competitive. So some guys would, he's doing mixtapes, they jump into the mixtape game. He's doing radio, I'm gonna jump. So like me and Khaled, there was a point where I was at a pirate radio station, and the pirate radios were usually in an apartment building. And so the apartment we were in, where the station was here, and the next floor up was his pirate radio station.
Oh wow!
And we would like literally like talk shit to each other on the balconies and shit.
No way.
yeah. And there was that little rivalries, but as you got older and people, whoever stuck with it, eventually you found camaraderie with like, yo, we all from the same hood, we all from the same city, we putting on for the city. Let's show that unity, and let's leave all that shit behind us. Right.
Exactly. No, and that's dope, man, to just have both Miami legend DJs like just going back and forth. Yeah, like that's dope. But let's talk about the mixtapes because I googled you and said that your first mixtape you dropped was in '93, and it also said that was the same year that you graduated high school. So
Same year
how
I
did
started the
that?
company. Yep.
So right when you graduated, you started the company.
Yeah, I conceived it my senior year of high school. Like I knew I wasn't getting no scholarship for school or anything like
Mm-hmm.
that. I was gonna end up going to community college.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was just brainstorming what I wanted to do, and that's where I conceived the company, Crazy Up Productions, and I started. I was able to get my hands on some turntables right after that, and yeah, and put the crew together, and then we launched in '93.
That's crazy. And to think when you were first doing it, did you think you were gonna have that many mixtapes out? I think what is it, 42
Yeah,
mixtapes
volumes. Yeah, nah, I
volumes?
didn't. Nah, man, I was really it was one day at a time, man. I didn't even think. At one point, I had this one crate of records that was like a quarter full, maybe 20 records in there, vinyl records. I
Mm.
was like, man, one day I'm gonna fill this crate up. To fill it would have been
Uh,
like 50 records. You
right.
know what I'm saying? So I'm like, oh man, one day I'm gonna fill this crate up. I mean, it got to the point where I started getting serviced by all the record labels, and in front of me, I even got some of my records still. I had
Mm-hmm.
30,000 records, like
Wow.
so I never thought it would get that far, but at the same token, I wasn't doubting it. I was just trying not to think too ahead and
Mm.
just go tape by tape because each tape I looked at it like it was putting together a compilation album and then
Mm-hmm.
releasing it like an album. So that's the
Right.
way that whole. So I put a lot into it. My
Mm-hmm.
crew put a lot into it. We would go and sell out the trunk of our cars, a T-shirt with a tape. We would go to the
Yep.
flea markets and we would put them in the flea markets, and I was cold calling people and selling masters, and it was a lot of work.
Wow. You were basically a business because a lot of people think they got to go to school for all the school is important, but it's
Right.
like people think like, oh, I got to go to school to do this and that. But you had the whole business mind like when you were 17, 16 years old.
Yeah, out the gate. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I had a little bit of, my father wasn't in my life very much. Like
Mm-hmm.
he was in and out of my life, and we've had a rough relationship throughout our life, but he was an entrepreneur.
Okay.
And he was a Cuban immigrant. He was a Vietnam vet, Marine. He had all kinds of issues,
Mm,
but he
wow.
still he still was able to be an entrepreneur. But he would like fail at business, and then he'd bounce back and pop out with
Right.
some new shit, and then fail at that and
Yeah.
bounce back. And he was like, hood rich, then broke, and then hood rich. Like it
Yeah.
was like, but it was still like, even though we had a fucked up relationship, and a lot of things weren't good with him, I still saw that as some kind of, like inspiration where there was someone I knew that was an entrepreneur. And then I also looked at all the landscape of the artists, like Ruthless Records being an independent label, Luke Records that was in my backyard.
Hmm.
Then you see like Master P popping up on the scene, and the way that Wu-Tang came together. And what I
Yeah.
started to do is, and I'm reading all this stuff in like the Source magazine, and I'm getting, an idea of what they're doing, and I'm just trying to take little things that resonate with me that I
Right.
can apply to my crew. And that's what we did. And I was really into like, okay, we young dudes, but I want to be taken serious. So we used to have meetings, and we used to pay
Right.
dues because we didn't have money. So everybody had to put like 20 bucks a month. And
Mm.
and you had to put in your hours of promotion, like go out in the streets. And if you didn't put in your hours, you got reprimanded in the crew. So
Mm.
to me, that was the only way we were gonna get anywhere, if we were
Right.
organized and serious and taken serious.
Oh man, I love that. And that goes back to the question about the team. Like there was structure. There was
Yeah,
structure to it. And that's just good to hear too. A lot of people because a lot of people that I'm in this lane where it's more like artist development and like people look at me to like, get answers. And it's like you're saying this is perfect for them to hear because it starts with the people you're around. And if you take it serious, they're gonna take it serious with you.
absolutely.
So I love that. And then you also had a storefront as well.
Hmm.
You had the whole store. So you was
Crazy
just a
goods. Yeah.
crazy goods, just full blown businessman. You got a store. Were you pushing your like mixtapes out of there, obviously, and merch and
Oh
everything?
yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So the store again was just like an idea to push the brand more and do something and pivot in a way. the truth is we didn't know anything about retail sale, sales
Right.
and selling and storefront shit. So it was
Hmm.
all new to us. But I was like, all right, fuck it, everything's new to us. So
Right.
let's just
Exactly.
dive into it. So shout out to my homie Eddie Giggs. Some people might know him on Drink Champs as Eddie the Ass Eater.
Oh
But
yeah.
so Eddie
Yeah.
Giggs, me and him came up with the idea of the store, and we put this store together called Crazy Goods in '97.
Mm.
And yeah, we had a record pool in there. We sold, all the hip hop gear at the time. We sold markers and black books for the graffiti artists and all the everything, man, like the tips and it was a dope ass little spot, and we had it till to 2000.
That's dope. And that's why I say I love your branding, because even I seen a old video on YouTube when you did a video with Denzel Curry and
Hmm.
Gunplay, and
Yeah,
just guys slapping stickers. Who's crazy everywhere, slapping
yeah,
stickers,
yeah.
like it's just inspiring to see stuff like that. So the branding is very important, obviously, because it took you to this point where you meet Noriega.
Right.
How does all that happen? And first, yeah, let's go with how did you meet Noriega?
So the store Crazy Goods was
Mhm.
the place where we actually got to link. And at that time period, when artists came into town, they would usually go to stores to do like in stores to promote that they're gonna be at a club or something that night.
Right.
And they would go to either record stores, or if there was like a hip hop type of store, they'd go to the hip hop store. And so, we were one of the few hip hop stores in Miami. And my homie, Phil, who now is a big, he was a part of Live on Sundays, one of the biggest clubs
Yep.
promoters in the world. He was dealing with Nori. It was Nori promoting the CNN album, but Capone was locked up.
Right. Yep.
So he was on a promo run, and he brought him to my store. And I had this digital 4-track that I used to get freestyles for my mixtapes.
Hmm.
And I was like, yo, I need, can you do a freestyle for me? He laced me with a bunch of freestyles. To
Wow.
us, CNN, Capone Noriega was already buzzing heavy.
Right.
And also the fact that he was kind of spitting the Spanish lingo,
Hmm.
for Latinos, we hear any kind of Spanish, we're like, hold up, this dude's Latino,
In
like
hip
we
hop,
jump into that
yeah.
shit. So I
Right.
was like, yo, and then he, his half Puerto Rican, and
Yep.
so we just hit it off, man, and from that point on, we stayed connected, and we did so much stuff. Like I brought him for his first solo, like a legit solo show with the NRE album. We went
Mm.
on tour. He put my group on tour with him. I went on, I've been his tour DJ around the world. Like we've done so much since
Wow.
then, man. But that's where it started in Crazy Goods.
Wow. And yeah, just to have a relationship like that, to just a natural thing where he's like, bring all your people with you, and we just
Yeah.
all going on tour.
Yeah, yeah, man. He would be like, he'd hit us up, because everybody thinks if you go to Florida, that's Miami, which it's not. But he would be like,
Right.
I'm in Orlando, come through. And I'd
Uh-huh.
be like, that's like 4 hours away.
Right.
But
Exactly.
he's like, yo, come through. I'll put y'all on stage. And, we wasn't going to hesitate for that
Right.
opportunity. So we head up there, and we had nowhere to stay. And he would have the suite. And he'd be like, yo, just stay in the other part of the suite. So we'd all be
Wow.
sleeping on the floor and shit in the suite, the whole
Wow.
crew. Yeah. So,
That's
yeah,
dope.
always love, man. Yeah.
He's definitely a good spirit, man. That's a good person to have around you, and that's what brought y'all to. Obviously, you guys had your first radio show you had together, the Militant
Militant
Crazy.
and Crazy Raw Radio. Yep.
Yeah. So you do that, and then now you get past that point, and you're doing podcasting yourself, or did you keep doing it by yourself after that? And Nori went,
Oh no. So what happened was, so we were doing that Sirius XM show. It was on XM and Sirius XM. And we both got busy because we didn't make a dime off of that, off
right.
the Sirius XM show. We
Yeah.
just did it for fun. And it was in
Mm-hmm.
my studio here in Kendall.
Oh
And
wow.
so I got busy because I was managing a group called Mayday, which that plaque is from them with
Yeah.
Kendrick and Tech Nine. And so they were busy touring, so I was busy with them. Nori just put out a new album with Capone, a new CNN album. So they went to Europe to tour,
Mm-hmm.
and we just got busy, so we stopped doing it. But I was like, man, I want to do something like this. But it's funny because I always forget. You kind of reminded me when people ask me. I did start a thing on Dash Radio.
Okay.
Um, it was, damn, what was the name of our show? Jesus, I forget right now.
Yeah, because there was a
Yeah,
gap in Google where it was like okay, you guys did that, then you went to CBS. It was like there was nothing in between it.
yeah, no. So I started doing that Dash Radio show, which I can't remember the name of it. I have beer brain right now. But
No, it's
anyway,
fine.
so I was doing that for a minute, which is kind of like podcasting.
Hmm.
But the whole time though that we weren't like from when we were doing our Sirius XM show, my homie Godfrey, who was like doing a gaming podcast called Gamer Tag Radio, he was always advocating about podcasting to me. You guys should podcast. But podcasting wasn't big to the hip hop community. It looked like it was like some nerdy computer shit to people.
Right, exactly.
So when I tried to, I mean, I could see it. So I was like, yo, Nori, let's, and he couldn't see it. He didn't really understand it. Like most people did. You know, it wasn't just him. Most people didn't understand it. So I kept pushing it and pushing it and pushing it. And finally, you know, I'm making a long story short. A couple years later, he finally, you know, got on board with the idea. And at the same time, my boy Godfrey, his podcast got signed to CBS Radio. So he plugged us with CBS Radio. And we did some pilot episodes. They loved the concept. And the rest is history. But simultaneously going back, the name Drink Champs was something that my crew would say. We were saying it in the studio all the time, around Nori, around ourselves, because we were big drinkers. So if like you couldn't handle your liquor, like you're not a drink champ.
Right.
And it was just something like people could probably search. We've hashtagged that shit for years.
Wow.
Right. Whenever me and my boys are drinking, hashtag drink champ or drink champs. I think we would just say drink champ. And I just thought it was such a dope like name that I just said, man, let me see if anybody owns the .com of this. And nobody owned the .com. And I'm talking about like early on.
Right.
I'm like, man, nobody owns this shit. It's crazy. This could be a bar. It could be a clothing
line.
Right,
exactly.
I'm like, that's crazy. So I grabbed Drink Champ and drinkchamps.com.
Wow.
And then I grabbed Drink Champs on Instagram whenever it was available, you know, and then Twitter. And I started just grabbing it. And then eventually I had my homie. Then I started to think, okay, maybe this could be the name of the podcast. I would tell Nori, and he wasn't really too sure about the name at first.
Yeah.
So I told my homie Scam, who's a legend in the game. Scam did the artwork on the first Eminem album. He did the Tribe Called Quest Beats Rhyme and Life. He's a legend. So he did the logo for us. And and when Nori was finally ready to do the show, I'm like, look, man, here's everything. Here's the logo. I got the .com. It's called Drink Champs. Let's run. And when he's ready. He's like, let's do it.
Wow. So that's not something y'all see when, you know, from a viewer standpoint, when you watch it, it's like, okay, they came up with the show and it just happened like that. Like, no. It's just something that's been manifesting for years and years.
Absolutely. Because if you listen to those first XM and Sirius XM shows, there's a couple clips on YouTube. It looks and sounds like Drink Champs.
Yep.
We're drinking Tiger Bone. We announce ourselves the same way. We got our homies there. We're all getting drunk. We're talking shit. We just didn't have as many guests because we were down south here in Kendall in my area. And we were just, it was too early. Like not too many people were up on going and doing interviews like that.
Right.
With, you know, whatever. They didn't understand what we were doing anyway. So, but it was years in the making, man. And then the podcast platform and arena became the perfect catalyst to really take it to the next level.
Yeah, man. And you guys definitely took it to the next level with even starting it off with Fat Joe. Did you guys have, because I heard you guys talk about that you did more before Fat Joe, but I couldn't find any.
No. So day one of the pilot, recording a pilot, was Kenny Anderson.
Oh, okay.
He was the very first guest, but we didn't release that first. So he's the first recorded guest for Drink Champs. The second day, Fat Joe came through, and then he became the first released episode, Fat Joe.
Okay.
And Kenny Anderson actually became, I don't know, like the 9th released episode.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. So now I got a couple questions about Drink Champs. So I hear a lot of times, because I watch a lot of you guys' stuff. People say, yeah, no problem. People refer to you as DJ EFN. Does that ever get on your nerves? Does that bother you?
I've been dealing with that so long. I got skits on my cassette mixtapes where I intro the shit saying it's not effing, it's not EFN. And you know what's funny? That it'd be people that know me that say it, or people that are in front of me that hear me and say my name in the beginning of the show. I just think that people cannot help themselves. It's something verbal that they can't they can't help but say it. It's
like a slang. It's like easier to say. It's like, all right, effing.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, yeah, I would prefer they just say E because my friends call me E. Right. You know, or F. I even don't mind F. But when you go FN, I'm like, oh, come on, bro.
Come on, man. That's a vodka. That's a vodka.
But you know, it doesn't really bother me because I'm just so used to it at this point that I'm like, whatever.
So I was listening to one of your old mixtapes. I forgot to bring this up. And you said you would just scream on there and say, I don't give a fuck where you from. We're from the South. Like, did that ever bring you any problems, like saying that? Because I know New York was real, like, strong on every hip hop being New York.
I mean, we talk about this on Drink Champs a lot. Like, where Nori doesn't understand that there was this thing where New York wasn't like open to the rest of the country.
Yeah.
Because he's saying, well, he was, but I'm trying to tell him it's not him. And it was more so the industry, not necessarily the artists that were necessarily against everybody. It was like the industry kind of kept itself up there. Yeah, man, we were always fighting down south for respect. Like everybody else was. That's why the West went crazy when they went crazy.
Yep.
Because when they got in the door, they kicked it down. They're like, fuck that, So that's the way a lot of other regions of the country felt, and the South especially. And so we were always fighting for respect. We always heard people calling us Bama down here, or they didn't. If someone had like a Southern accent in their rhymes style, they didn't respect the lyrics. When these people were more lyrical than some of the folks up north. Yep. So it's like that was our thing. Like we had like a chip on our shoulder to prove, like, fuck that, we from the South. Because oftentimes artists that could make their sound like they were from New York or from up north,
right,
that were from down south, they would just pretend they weren't from the South just to get a deal.
Wow.
Or they'd move to New York, and they would just like put up this whole persona and not represent where they were from. And that was our whole thing. Like, nah, fuck that, man. We're gonna make it from here. We're gonna rep it here. We're gonna make it cool here. Like, I remember my crew used to rep Miami and 305 before anybody thought that was the thing to do. Like, it was not cool at a point to rep 305. It was not cool to say from what? From Kendall. Never called Kendall in Miami.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh, that was the least coolest place to rep on top of that. And now, you got people out here in Miami, like down here repping it. But Dade County, people wouldn't say Dade County in the times that we would say it. We had shirts that had 305. That was unheard of at the time. So, it's been an evolution of where people can't even conceive a time like that.
Wow. Yeah, because now we just know it as that. Like, we just know that's what it is. Wow. Yeah. So I also want to ask you, this is more so of because I know you're like a hip hop historian, like you're the hip hop guy, like So
I don't know everything. I know something.
Listen, I watch your podcast and you know a lot of shit. So, but so I want to ask you, now that there's new music out, the newer kids are out, what is it about people that are so in love with hip hop that now that there's new school music out, it's kind of a disconnect? To you, what is the disconnect between hip hop and what's going on now, the new hip hop?
Hip hop is subjective, like the music of it, and it's an art form. So whether you like it or don't like it, that's up to each individual person. The disconnect, though, my opinion has always been that when hip hop started making money, like the music of hip hop in the industry started making money, then people gotta understand there's the industry and then there's hip hop culture. Those are two different things.
Yes.
They come together, but they're two different things. So when the industry side of it made a lot of money in the heydays of the music industry before streaming came into play and the internet, they were being, the industry was greedy. The artists were getting a ton of money. And I just think that there was a lot of young artists that had obviously never seen that kind of money before. They were trying to, they thought that shit was going to last forever.
Right.
So I feel like, you come from nothing and you get all this money. You think you're going to sit there and worry about the culture?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? That's the last thing they're worried. They're like, oh shit, I'm making millions of dollars right now.
Exactly.
Fuck a cult. Like, it's in a sense, everybody's selling out. And my opinion is that era, which is my generation of people, you know what I'm saying? Which is like the mid to late 90s, early 2000s, like that decade between the 95 to 2005. I feel that generation of artists were making so much bread that they were like, you know what, man, we're going to be young forever. We're going to make this money. They was not concerned with passing down the torch or passing down information or looking for the future of how to like nurture the culture to bring in the next generation of people. And what happens is you had like fatherless children in a sense.
Yep.
The younger artists are like, all right, that's the disconnect. There's that disconnect. So then these guys are too busy in the club popping bottles, my generation. The younger artists are not getting any kind of direction. So now the internet's coming in, and that's where you get the Soldier Boys and these guys, they start taking advantage of all the technology, and they do it how they want to do it because they have no other direction.
Wow.
So that's my opinion. That's my opinion.
Right. And that makes a lot of sense, though, because if you think about the street culture too, that's how it was that era, 95, 2005, everybody was focused on being young, and they forgot about being OGs and bringing up the youth. So that makes a lot of sense
Right.
in
And
hip
then
hop.
when the OGs got locked up and
Yep.
taken off the streets,
Yep.
there was no more rules, no more street code, and it
Hmm.
was a free for all, and
Yep.
that's what happened.
Yeah, man. And honestly, I feel like hip hop's kind of getting back to it. There's some young kids that are coming up. I don't know if you heard of Corday.
Yeah, of
Lil
course,
Baby's even really lyrical.
absolutely.
So it's coming back. It's got a different sound, but it's definitely coming back. So I'm actually proud of that. So I just have a few more questions here.
Yeah,
So
for sure.
you have is Colombian White, is that your liquor?
So I'm part owner of the company.
Mm-hmm.
It's my homies from down here in Kendall. They're
Mm-hmm.
Colombian dudes. It's aguardiente is like the national liquor of Colombia.
Mm-hmm.
It's translated. It's fire water.
Oh, okay.
And so they put me onto it. I grew up around Colombians. I'm Cuban, but I grew up around a lot of Colombians.
Mm-hmm.
Whenever they would have like weddings and parties, they would all take shots of this stuff. At the time, I thought it was crazy drink. I was like, man, this is nuts. And then my boys were like, yo, we got this formula that we created of the same drink. And I was like, man, this is kind of smooth. And I felt like there was a lane. So boom, I got involved in the company and so Colombian White and we're distributed regionally right now in the South. Eventually it'll go national.
Okay, yeah, and that was one of my questions I was going to ask, but I was going to say you're Cuban but got a Colombian
Oh yeah, I
alcohol.
don't discriminate by race or culture or ethnicity.
I don't know because you're always like, I'm Cuban, so it's like,
I mean, yeah, I'm always gonna put on, like, that's my thing. I'm always gonna put on for Miami, for the South, for who I am, Cuban. Like,
yeah,
I'm gonna put on, but then I'm gonna keep going. Like, then the next is all my Latinos,
right.
and this, down the line.
Right. So then also whenever you're on a show, you're on Drink Champs, it got a little crazy. Diddy's episode got a little crazy. So is there times where you're like, all right, these guys are getting crazy. Like, I'm gonna just fake my shot. Like, I'm gonna act like I took a shot. Did you ever think about it?
Nah, I mean, my girl wants me to fake my shots all the time, but I just feel like Drink Champs is the environment where you just can't fake it, because then it's just completely fake. The whole thing is fake.
Yeah.
And there'll be times you might see one of us or both of us turn down, like, okay, I'm gonna skip this round. Like to me, I'd rather just be real about, like, yo, I can't this round. Hold up, I'll get the next one, because I might have to catch my breath.
Right.
But nah, I welcome that craziness, man, because that to me is the fun shit, man. When we get all crazy like that. But then we all have like our own drinks. We've matured in Drink Champs. Like now I drink beer. Before I used to drink liquor.
Yeah, I've noticed.
Now I'm a beer drinker when I'm drinking shots of Mama Juana, which is Dominican, by the way. And Nori's drinking champagne. He's fancy, he got the Jay-Z approved champagne.
Yeah.
And so now we drink what we're used to, and it kind of like keeps us in the game a little longer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, and that's good, because I was gonna ask that too, because it can't be good for your health.
No, definitely
it can't be good.
Yeah.
But so yeah, like that you were able to mature in it and know, like, okay, my limits here, like, okay, I'm beer instead of just shot. So that's good that you're growing. And yeah, I do see Nori, he lets everyone know too that it's approved by Jay-Z. So so
some expensive ass bottles.
Right. So that I do want to ask now, I do want to talk about, because I just recently had twins. I got newborn twins.
Oh, congratulations, man.
Thank you. So I've been listening to your show, Fatherhoods podcast, you and your boys, KGB and
Manny Digital.
Yeah. So I've been listening to that, and I appreciate what you guys are doing with that, because
thank you.
As a new father with no one really to, no father to tell me, like, help me out. It's good to hear like other guys going through the same shit that I'm going through.
Yeah.
And able to, understand that, because I just want to let you know I appreciate that. And to talk about father, was that going on while Drink Champs started, or was that something new?
We started Fatherhoods maybe 2-3 years ago.
Okay.
Maybe. And as you notice, like, I'm always trying to like pivot and do different things.
Yeah.
Kind of still feel related to everything I do, to the brand. Like, you're never gonna see me go off and do some country related shit.
Right, exactly.
So it's all related, and I always want to mature and evolve too. Like, not just, I'm not gonna just rep the 19-year-old me. I gotta continue to evolve and rep who I am today, the 45-year-old me. So
right, exactly.
I became a father in my life as of recently. I got 2 kids. I got a toddler and a baby. And before I had my daughter, my boys who had kids, because all my friends had kids young. So, I would call them up and, consult them with what's going, like what to expect, and get all different angles. And we just thought, man, like maybe this is something that we could kind of create this public platform of like a podcast where there's like-minded people who need the same information,
Right.
who talk like us, without better words, hip hop fathers, hip hop dads,
Right. Exactly.
and that we speak the same language. And so we're like, yeah, man, like let's do it, because we were
Hmm.
doing it behind the scenes regularly. I
Right.
was calling my
Without
boys
the
up.
mics. Hmm.
Yeah, yeah, and then we invite artists and different people from the industry and within the culture to talk about their experiences, and everybody has different experiences. And the other thing too is to break that stigma, that people, that misconception that people are like fathers in hip hop are deadbeat dads, which has never been
Right.
true, you
Yep.
know. So that was another thing we wanted to make sure people understood, that wasn't true, and showcase the father that's in the hip hop industry and within the culture, and what
Right.
they're, how they father.
Yeah, and that's because a lot of people, growing up where we grew up from, it's like the father is hardly there, never there. So, like I said, it's refreshing to have someone in hip hop that that we respect to be able
Thank
to
you, man.
give that type of advice. So,
And we
um,
lay it all out, man.
yeah, no, for sure, it's all authentic, and I'm like, that's a fact. Like I do that shit too. So,
Yo,
so
for you
no.
with twins, make sure you follow my homie Recognize from the group Mayday. He has
Mhm.
twins as well. Follow him on Instagram, and he posting all these stuff about his twins, so you guys can relate
Okay.
with that.
Yeah, I'm gonna definitely get his information after this. If I don't find him on
Yeah.
here, um, but yeah, no. So what's next? We'll wrap it up here. What's next? I know we got a lot to talk about. Like we could go for hours on you, but
Right.
so what is next for DJ EFN? You got Drink Champs, you got Fatherhood Podcast. You guys actually have your own podcast distribution company as well.
Yes and no. I mean, we've been talking about it for years, and we totally haven't put it together, because my whole thing, my perspective is, I don't want to launch the network until the network is something that's really going to provide for the content creators, and do it
Right.
the right way.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to half-ass it.
Yeah.
But we've been working on it for a while, and it's just a matter of getting certain pieces together. But we produce and co-produce a bunch of other podcasts. We got the Smoke Champs podcast that just, we've been producing, is about to launch officially. We got I got Fatherhoods. I got one called Lost in Translation. My boys are doing Grumpy OGs. We got I mean, there's just a million podcasts.
Wow.
Like my thing with podcasts is, like, if I think of an idea, I
Mm-hmm.
do proof of concept, and I got a little podcast studio here in my office,
Mm-hmm.
and I just, I tell people, okay, this is my idea, let's record it,
Wow.
and so I have hundreds of anything of podcasts that I've been co-producing or producing. And then besides that, man, I do a film series called Coming Home, where I
Mm-hmm.
travel to different countries, and explore the country through hip hop, through their
Yeah.
hip hop culture. And so we just wrapped up the post production for our sixth film in the series. We went to South Africa,
Mm-hmm.
and I got some exciting new partnerships that I'm going to be announcing soon with the series, to take
Dope.
the series to the next level.
Mm-hmm.
So I really excited for people to check that out. And I'm involved in a bunch of brands, man. I got my Michelada brand, the Crazy Michi is going to be
Yes.
coming out. Yeah, the Michelada cup. I got, we're involved in the cannabis industry, so a lot of interesting stuff coming out, man.
Dope. That's dope to see. And I was gonna mention the films, and was that the Coming Home series? That was originally was that with the help of, you were under like Diddy's Revolt? Was that with Revolt or
So before Drink Champs, I licensed the first four films. Well, the first film that I licensed was my Coming Home Cuba, where I went to Cuba,
uh-huh?
which is what launched the series.
Mm-hmm.
And I licensed that film to Revolt the year that they launched. We were the first original like content acquisition that
Oh
they
wow.
launched. They launched the network with in 2013, and that was
Wow.
my first time ever making anything film wise, like a film
Right.
like that. So it was really exciting and dope, and it kind of inspired for me to do more of them. And that's where the series idea came, and going to different countries and stuff.
Wow, and that's dope. So then the connection just came full circle. I'm sure Nori already knew Diddy, and
Yeah,
you
yeah,
had the
yeah.
connection,
Our
and
our
then
circles, we know, between me and Nora, we know everybody. I know a lot of people behind the scenes. I've done marketing for all the labels for years.
right.
So, our network is vast. And so between him and, and the Puff connection, and me, on the other side, that I've already licensed stuff to Revolt. Shout out to my boy Ramon Dukes, who took
Mm-hmm.
us over there, took me to Revolt. That was a seamless partnership to bring Drink Champs
Wow.
to Revolt.
No, that's dope, man. And I just want to say, like, y'all heard what he said. He got all these things out. You're always thinking, and you kind of remind me of myself. So just always thinking, moving forward and putting the work in. And I just want to say, y'all give flowers, but I want to give you your flowers, man. I feel like you deserve all the appreciation. I feel like you hold that podcast together well. When shit start to sway one side, you bring it back to what's going on. And like, I love that you know how to play your role and play it well.
Right.
And I just want to say, I want to give you your flowers and the whole hip hop community, the young guys. We love y'all and we appreciate you. And I do appreciate you again taking your time out to join us here on In Tune in the Cut podcast, man. Thank you, DJ EFN.
No, thank you for having me, dog. I appreciate it.
No problem, man. And y'all stay tuned. Next week, we got another big one coming up. This is In Tune. My name is AC. Yeah, whoa.